sisters. Today, I'm going to keep on reading the Holy Bible. Hold on a second. Let me find a good stand for this phone. I'm standing, I'm here at the gym. So, I'm already sweating and stuff. Also, I'm not, hold on. Um, I'm not sure what's happening with my app, but I'm not able to read comments. They're not appearing. No comments are appearing on the screen. So if you leave your comment, then I'm probably not going to be able to read it. But if you are here reading the Bible um, with all of us, I want to say God bless you, welcome in, and may the Lord be with you, folks. But here we go. So in the previous chapters, God reaffirmed his commitment to restoring Israel, and he also prophesied against, yes, Mount Seir, of course, and also against Gog, which was going after Jerusalem. And yeah, that's also all right. Because I cannot read any comments, I'm not sure if it's going to work or not. Let me see if I can create a poll. In case anybody comes here. Stream working. See if it allows me to put on this poll. Yeah, the poll's not working. Hopefully my video can still be replayable. But yeah, God's going to restore Israel after all it went through. And yeah, this is what he says up next after prophesying against Gog. Here's chapter 40, vision of the man with the measuring reed. Uh, So we'll read until through chapter 41. So here we go. Chapter 40, vision of the man with the measuring reed. In the 25th year of our captivity, in the beginning of the year, in the 10th day of the month, in the 14th year after that the city was smitten, in the selfsame day the hand of the Lord was upon me and brought me thither. In the visions of God brought he me into the land of Israel and set me upon a very high mountain, by which was as the frame of a city in the south. And he brought me thither, and behold, there was a man whose appearance was like the appearance of brass, with a line of flax in his hand, and the measuring reed. He stood in the gate, and he stood in the gate. And the man said unto me, Son of man, behold with thine eyes, and hear with thine ears, and set thine heart upon all that I shall show thee. For to the intent that I might show them unto thee, art thou brought hither. Declare all that thou seest to the house of Israel. Vision of the future temple. And behold, a wall on the outside of the house roundabout, and in the man's hand a measuring reed of 6 cubits long by the cubit and hand breadth. So he measured the breadth of the building, one reed, and the height, one reed. Then came he unto the gate which looketh toward the east, and went up the stairs thereof, and measured the threshold of the gates, which was one reed broad, and the other threshold of the gate, which was one reed broad. And every little chamber was one reed long and one reed broad. And between the little chambers were 5 cubits, and the threshold of the gate by the porch of the gate within was 1 reed. He measured also the porch of the gate within 1 reed. Then measured he the porch of the gate 8 cubits, and the post thereof 2 cubits, and the porch of the gate was inward. And the little chambers of the gate eastward were 3 on this side, and 3 on that side. These 3 were of 1 measure, and the posts had 1 measure on this side, on that side. And he measured the breadth of the entry of the gate, 10 cubits, and the length of the gate, 13 cubits. The space also before the little chambers was 1 cubit on this side, and the space was 1 cubit on that side. And the little chambers were 6 cubits on that side, and 6 cubits on that side. He measured the gate from the roof of one little chamber to the roof of another. The breadth was 5 and 20 cubits, door against door. He made also posts of 60 cubits, even unto the posts of the court round about the gate. And from the face of the gate of the entrance unto the face of the porch of the inner gate were 50 cubits. And there were narrow windows to the little chambers, and to their posts within the gate round about, and likewise to the arches, and windows were round about inward. And upon each post were palm trees. Then brought he me into the outward courts, and lo, there were chambers, and a pavement made for the court round about. 30 chambers were upon the pavement, and the pavement by the side of the gates over against the length of the gates was the lower pavements. Then he measured the breadth from the forefront of the lower gate unto the forefront of the inner court without, and 100 cubits eastward and northward. And the gate of the outward court that looked toward the north, he measured the length thereof, and the breadth thereof. And the little chambers thereof were 3 on this side and 3 on that side. And the posts thereof and the arches thereof were after the measure of the first gate. The length thereof was 50 cubits, and the breadth 5 and 20 cubits. And their windows and their arches and their palm trees were after the measure of the gates that looketh toward the east, and they went up unto it by 7 steps, and the arches thereof were before them. And the gate of the inner court was over against the gate toward the north and toward the east, and he measured from gate to gate 100 cubits. After that, he brought me toward the south, and behold, the gate toward the south, and he measured the posts thereof and the arches thereof according to these measures. And there were windows in it, and in the arches thereof round about like those windows. The length was 50 cubits, and the breadth 5 and 20 cubits. And there were 7 steps to go up to it, and the arches thereof were before them, and it had palm trees, one on this side and another on that side, upon the post thereof. And there was a gate in the inner court toward the south, and he measured from gate to gate toward the south 100 cubits. And he brought me to the inner court by the south gate, and he measured the south gate according to these measures. And the little chambers thereof, and the posts thereof, and the arches thereof, according to these measures. And there were windows in it, and in the arches thereof round about. It was 50 cubits long, and 5 and 20 cubits broad. And the arches thereof were toward the utter court, and palm trees were upon the posts thereof, and the going up to it had 8 steps. And he brought me into the inner court toward the east, and he measured the gate according to these measures. And the little chambers thereof, and the posts thereof, and the arches thereof were according to these measures. And there were windows therein, and in the arches thereof roundabouts it was 50 cubits long, and 25 cubits broad. And in the arches thereof were toward the outward court, and palm trees were upon the posts thereof on this side and on that side, and the going up to it had 8 steps. And he brought me to the north gate and measured it according to these measures. The little chambers thereof, the posts thereof, and the arches thereof, and the windows to it round about, the length was 50 cubits, and the breadth 25 cubits. Folks, before I go on, I just want to let you know somebody liked my post, my video, my live stream, sorry. Unfortunately, YouTube is not letting me read the comments, but to whoever that was, God bless you. Welcome in. And to everybody who's scrolling through this stream or stopping by the stream, God bless you also. Unfortunately, YouTube is not showing me the comments, so I cannot tell who's here and who's not. Some weird glitch in the app, but God bless all of y'all. And the posts thereof were toward the other court, and palm trees were upon the posts thereof, on this side and on that side, and the going up to it had 8 cubits or 8 steps. And the chambers and the entries thereof were by the posts of the gates where they washed the burnt offering. And in the porch of the gate were 2 tables on this side and 2 tables on that side to slay thereon the burnt offering and sin offering and the trespass offering. And at the side without, as one goeth up to the entry of the north gate, were 2 tables. And on the other side, which was at the porch of the gate, were 2 tables. 4 tables were on this side, and 4 tables on that side. By the side on by the side of the gate, 8 tables, whereupon they slew their sacrifices, and the 4 tables were of hewn stones for the burnt offering, of a cubit and a half long, and a cubit and a half broad, and 1 cubit high, whereupon also they laid the instruments wherewith they slew the burnt offering within the sacrifice, and within were hooks a hand broad, fastened round about, and upon the tables was the flesh of the offering. And without the inner gate were the chambers of the singers in the inner court, which was at the side of the north gate, and their prospect was toward the south, one at the side of the east gate, having the prospect toward the north. And he said unto me, this chamber, whose prospect is toward the south, is for the priests, the keepers of the charge of the house. And a chamber whose prospect is toward the north is for the priests, the keepers of the charge of the altar. These are the sons of Zadok among the sons of Levi, which come near to the Lord to minister unto him. So he measured the court 100 cubits long, and 100 cubits broad, foursquare, and the altar that was before the house. And he brought me to the porch of the house and measured each post of the porch 5 cubits on this side, and 5 cubits on that side. And the breadth of the gate was 3 cubits on this side, and 3 cubits on that side. The length of the porch was 20 cubits, and the breadth 11 cubits. And he brought me by the steps whereby they went up to it, and there were pillars by the posts, one on this side and another one on that side. All right, folks. So, chapter 40 describes the measurements, the blueprints of the future temple, as given by the title. It describes the temple in detail, measuring the width and the height and the length of the temple. So it goes into detail. And this man with the measuring reed invites Ezekiel to measure the temple with them, with him. And the next chapter is chapter 41, description of the temple. Hold on. Hold on. Sorry, folks. Once again, folks, I cannot read the comments. I cannot read the chat because YouTube is not showing the chat to me. It's weird. I can't even read comments in the videos. But yeah. Uh, but for those who joined in, God bless you, and thanks for joining. And thank you, by the way, for that like. Maybe, maybe in a few moments I'll go live again, and if this is fixed. Chapter 41, description of the temple. Oh, okay. It goes on for quite a few, uh, for 3 chapters, so be warned. Afterward, he brought me to the temple and measured the post 6 cubits broad on the one side and 6 cubits broad on the other side, which was the breadth of the tabernacle. And the breadth of the door was 10 cubits, and the sides of the door were 5 cubits on the one side and 5 cubits on the other side. And he measured the length thereof 40 cubits, and the breadth 20 cubits. Then he went inward and measured the post of the door 2 cubits, and the door 6 cubits, and the breadth of the door 7 cubits. So he measured the length thereof 20 cubits, and the breadth 20 cubits, and before the temple. And he said unto me, This is the most holy place. I think he might be describing Jerusalem, the temple in Jerusalem. After he measured the wall of the house 6 cubits, and the breadth of every side chamber 4 cubits, round about the house of every side, on every side. And side chambers were three, and one over another, and 30 in order. And they entered into the wall which was of the house and for the same for the side chambers round about, that they might not hold that they might have hold. But they had not hold in the wall of the house. And there was an enlarging and winding about still upward to the side chambers, for the winding about to the house was still upward round about the house. Therefore, the breadth of the house is still upward, and so increased from the lowest chamber to the highest by the midst. I also saw the height of the house round about. The foundations of the side chambers were a full reed of 6 great cubits. The thickness of the wall, which was for the side chamber without, was 5 cubits, and that which was left was the place of the side chambers that were therein. And between the chambers was the wideness of 20 cubits round about the house on every side. And the doors of the side chambers were toward the place that was left, one door toward the north and one door toward the south. And the breadth of the place that was left was 5 cubits round about. Now the building that was before the separate place at the end toward the west was 70 cubits broad, and the wall of the building was 5 cubits thick roundabout, and the length thereof 90 cubits. So he measured a house 100 cubits long in a separate place in the building, with the walls thereof 100 cubits long. Also the breadth of the face of the house and of the separate place to the east 100 cubits. And he measured the length of the building over the against the separate place which was behind it, and the galleries thereof on the one side and on the other side 100 cubits, with the inner temple and the porches of the courts, the door posts and the narrow windows and the galleries round about on their 3 stories over against the doors, sealed with wood round about, and from the ground up to the windows, and the windows were covered. to that above the door, even into the inner house, and without, and with all the wall round about within and without by measure. And it was made with cherubims and palm trees, so that a palm tree was between a cherub, and every cherub had two faces. So that the face of a man was toward the palm tree on the one side, and the face of a young lion toward the palm tree on the other side. It was made through all the house round about. From the ground unto the above the door were cherubims and palm trees made, and on the wall of the temple. The posts of the temple were squared, and the face of the sanctuary, the appearance of the one as the appearance of the other. The altar of wood was 3 cubits high, and the length thereof 2 cubits, and the corners thereof, and the length thereof, and the walls thereof were of wood. And he said unto me, This is the table that is before the Lord. And the temple and the sanctuary had two doors, and the doors had two leaves apiece, two turning leaves, 2 leaves for the one door, and 2 leaves for the other door. And there were made on the doors of the temple cherubims and palm trees, as like as were made upon the walls. And there were thick planks upon the face of the porch without, and there were narrow windows and palm trees on the one side and on the other side, on the sides of the porch and upon the chambers of the house in thick planks. All right, so two more chapters that describe the temple, but essentially it's describing how the temple looks. So if you want to check out Ezekiel chapter 41 through 43, it says what the temple looks like and how much length thereof. It also mentions a table which is before the Lord. Again, another disclaimer, my YouTube app is not showing me the comments, so I cannot read any comments. But again, God bless you for joining in, and thank you. All right, chapter 42. Description of the temple continued. Then he brought me forth into the other courts, the way toward the north. And he brought me into the chamber that was over against the separate place, and which was before the building toward the north. Before the length of 100 cubits was the north door, and the breadth was 50 cubits. Over against the 20 cubits which were for the inner court, and over against the pavement which was for the utter court, was gallery against gallery in 3 stories. And before the chambers was a walk of 10 cubits withinward, a way of 1 cubit, and their doors toward the north. And the upper chambers were shorter, for the galleries were higher than these, than the lower, and than the in the middlemost of the building. For they were in 3 stories, but had not pillars as the pillars of the courts. Therefore the building was straightened more than the lowest, and the middlemost from the ground. And a wall that was without over against his chambers toward the utter court of the 4 parts of the chambers. The length thereof was 50 cubits. For the length of the chambers that were in the utter court was 50 cubits, and lo, before the temple were 100 cubits. And from under these chambers was the entry on the east side, as one goeth into them from the utter courts. Let me catch my breath in a moment. Sorry. The chambers were in the thickness of the wall of the court toward the east, over against a separate place, and over against the building. And the way before them was like the appearance of the chambers which were toward the north, as long as they, and as broad as they. And all their goings out were both according to their fashions and according to their doors. And according to the doors of the chambers that were toward the south was a door in the head of the way, even the way directly before the wall toward the east, as one entereth into them. Then he said unto me, The north chambers and the south chambers, which are before the separate place, they be holy chambers, where the priest shall approach unto the Lord, priests that to the Lord. excuse me, shall eat the most holy things. There shall they lay the most holy offerings and the meat offering and the sin offering and the trespass offering, for the place is holy. When the priests enter therein, then shall they not go out of the holy place into the other court, but there they shall lay their garments wherein they minister, for they are holy, and shall put on other garments, and shall approach to those things which are for the people. Now, when he had made an end of measuring the inner house, he brought me forth toward the gate, whose prospect is toward the east, and measured it round about. He measured the east side with the measuring reed, 500 reeds, with the measuring reed about round about. He measured the north side, 500 reeds, with the measuring reed round about. He measured the south side, 500 reeds, with the measuring reed. And he turned about the west side and measured 500 reeds with the measuring reed. He measured it by the four sides, and it had a wall round about 500 reeds long and 500 broad, to make a separation between the sanctuary and the profane place. So it measured the same length all around. And many of these measure um, the same length roundabouts, almost kind of like a square. I think by this, people will know that it's indeed holy and not just another place. But yeah, there are galleries, there are chambers, and there are separations between what is holy and unholy, and places for sacrifices described in the temple. Last chapter right here, chapter 43. Description of the temple continued. Afterward, he brought me to the gate, even the gate that looketh toward the east. And behold, the glory of the God of Israel came from the way of the east. And his voice was like a noise of many waters, and the earth shined with his glory. And it was according to the appearance of the vision which I saw, even according to the vision that I saw when I came to destroy the city. And the visions were like the vision that I saw by the river Kibar. And I fell upon my face. And the glory of the Lord came into the house by the way of the gate whose prospect is toward the east. So the Spirit took me up and brought me into the inner court, and behold, the glory of the Lord filled the house. And I heard him speaking unto me out of the house, and the man stood by me. And he said unto me, Son of man, the place of my throne, and the place of the soles of my feet, where I will dwell in the midst of the children of Israel forever in my holy name. Shall the house of Israel no more defile, neither they nor their kings, by their whoredom, nor by the carcasses of their kings in their high places, in their setting of their threshold by my thresholds, and their posts by my posts, and the wall between me and them. They have even defiled my holy name by their abominations that they have committed, wherefore I have consumed them in mine anger. Now let them put away their whoredom and the carcasses of their kings far from me, and I will dwell in the midst of them forever. Thou son of man, show the house to Israel, that they may be ashamed of their iniquities, and let them measure the pattern, and if they be ashamed of all that they have done, show them the form of the house and the fasten thereof, and the goings out thereof, and the comings in thereof, and all the forms thereof, and all the ordinances thereof, and all the forms thereof, and all of the laws thereof, and write it in their sight, that they may keep the whole form thereof, and all the ordinances thereof, and do them. This is the law of the house. Upon the top of the mountain, the whole limit thereof round about shall be most holy. Behold, this is the law of the house. Then these are the measures of the altar after the cubits. The cubits is a the cubit is a cubit and handbreadth. Even the bottom shall be a cubit, and the breadth a cubit, and the border thereof by the edge thereof round about shall be a span. And this shall be the higher place of the altar, and from the bottom upon the ground, even to the lower settle shall be 2 cubits, and the breadth 1 cubit. And from the lesser settle even to the greater settle shall be 4 cubits, and the breadth 1 cubit. So the altar shall be 4 cubits, and from the altar and upward shall be 4 horns. And the altar shall be 12 cubits long, 12 broad, square in the 4 squares thereof. And the settle shall be 14 cubits long, and 14 broad at the 4 squares thereof. And the border about it shall be a half a cubit, and the bottom thereof shall be a cubit about. And his stairs shall look toward the east. And he said unto me, Son of man, thus saith the Lord God, these are the ordinances of the altar in the day when they shall make it, to offer burnt offerings thereon, and to sprinkle blood thereon. And thou shalt give to the priests the Levites that be of the seed of Zadok, which approach unto me to minister unto me, saith the Lord God, a young bullock for a sin offering. And thou shalt take of the blood thereof, and put it on the 4 horns of it, and on the 4 corners of the settle, and upon their border roundabouts. Thus shalt thou cleanse and purge it. Thou shalt take the bullock also of the sin offering, and he shall burn it in the appointed place of the house without the sanctuary. And on the second day thou shalt offer a kid of the goats without blemish for a sin offering. And they shall cleanse the altar as they did cleanse it with the bullock. When thou hast made an end of cleansing it, thou shalt offer a young bullock without blemish, and a ram out of the flock without blemish. And thou shalt offer them before the Lord, and the priests shall cast salt upon them, and they shall offer them up for a burnt offering unto the Lord. 7 days shalt thou prepare every day a goat for sin offering. They shall also prepare a young bullock and a ram out of the flock without blemish. 7 days shall they purge the altar and purify it, and they shall consecrate themselves. And when these days are expired, it shall be that upon the 8th day and so forth, the priest shall make your burnt offerings upon the altar and your peace offerings, and I will accept you, saith the Lord God. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. The third and final part of the description of the temple describes the final measurements that the Lord will require to make in order for it to be holy. It describes in much detail the places and their measurements, and likewise, it's also saying what the people shall do for a sacrifice for their sins. A young bullock will be offered, and it will be burned. A ram also, and shall be offered for the Lord. It will be burnt for an offering to the Lord. And there are so many details that you can read in chapters 41 and 42 and 43 of Ezekiel in case you want to uh, see it for yourself. Or you can rewind the stream and see the details which I have given. through this Holy Bible, the King James Bible. But yeah, folks, thank you so much for joining in. I'm gonna head out. God bless each and every one of you who joined in. Unfortunately, I could not read the comments, but thank you so much for joining in. And go in peace and seek the love of the Lord and enjoy.